Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, your host from Villanova University, and my partner, as always, the great Sonny Sparrow from Syracuse University. How are you, Sonny?
Chuck, I'm great, man. I'm great. Good to get back together. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's that time of year where we get to enjoy some weather finally. We have to do that too. So we've caught a bunch of these in the hopper, as they call it, the professional term, Sonny, in the hopper. Because we are professional journalists, as
We
you
are.
so
Let's remind
eloquently
everybody.
state.
Yep.
So, yeah, so we have them ready to roll, and it's good. So we do a few more. We'll take a few days, and relax, and then do some more again. It's kind of what we do, Sonny, right?
We make magic. That's right.
We do somehow, some way we do. And it's good. And now we're stepping up our game a little bit. Well, you are. You now have an official background. I'm
All
still
right.
in my garage, as you can tell. But when you come back from your trip, I will be matching you. I don't know what I'm going to put on it yet, though, but we'll see. It'll be good. Maybe Sirius XM will put on there. That'll be good.
So why don't you put a close up of all that Villanova gear that's in your background? Why don't you just put
It's not
little
how do you know
stuff?
it's all Villanova? You can't see it. It's all blurred out, man.
I
I
see
got
enough.
surfboards back there and everything. You know, I never
Well,
surfed a
no,
day
I
in my
work with this
life, but I
stuff.
have surfboards, Sonny.
Help me out.
That would be something you want to film, watching me try to surf. That would be good. That would be big ratings, Sonny. Big ratings
That's
for
right.
that.
You'd go
Uh,
viral. Let's put it that way.
well, today we have another big guy. His is on the Big East Rewind with us, Sonny. I keep them coming. I keep the hits coming, man, with the bigs. You know how I am, son.
I do. I do. You're on a
So
roll.
this guy is 6'10" from St. John's University. St. John's Redmond. He played from 91 to 94. He played 2 years for Coach Carnesecca and 2 years for Brian Mahoney. So I'm curious to ask him about how that transfer went. He had a 12-year professional career, 4 years in the NBA, where one of the years he played for Popovich, which is going to be interesting to hear him talk about that
Coach
today
Pop.
too.
Yep.
Coach Pop, right? The great Shawnelle Scott, ladies and gentlemen, from St. John's. How are you, Shawnelle?
Good, good. Thank you for the kind words and the introduction.
Yeah, of course. This is all fun. As we spoke yesterday, and it was really funny how we hooked up because I saw, you're now doing a podcast, right?
Yes.
The Storm NYC, which is, doing quite well. And, I see you come out on Facebook with some stuff, and I said, let me contact them and see what's going on. And next thing you know, Sonny, here we are in the Big
Here
East
we are.
Rewind
We got a
world,
big
right?
timer this time. That's right.
That's how it works, man. That's how it works. Sometimes
Yeah.
you got to get lucky. Some of your former brethren over there, some of your St. John's guys are a little bit tough, man. Some of these guys still got the moves, man. We talked about it on the phone. Chris Mullins
Yeah.
is shaking and baking me all over the place for 4 years, Shawnell, you know
Oh man.
and
I mean,
and Mark Jackson. So we'll have to Sonny and I are going to have to put the full court press on those guys and see if we can trap them into coming in. So we've had so many great St. John's players join us, and it's been a lot of fun hanging out with those guys, as it will be hanging out with you. So let's kick this off without any further ado. So you're a New York City guy, right? Talk about growing up playing hoops in New York City, man. What was that like?
um, you know, I'm also like a varsity basketball coach now. A lot of times I gotta try to give stories to my kids just to have them try to relate. And I try to tell them about my upbringing, my childhood in New York City. That I'm a New York City guy, like more than you can ever be coached by. Like I from Harlem in Manhattan, and I grew up in I can't even tell you, it was just like a golden age of basketball players, with the Ross Stricklands and the Boo Harveys, the Walter Berrys, the Richie Adams, uh, Kenny Andersons, and so many great players. And it was a magical time, and I was inspired by like everybody. I love basketball so much that I was just inspired as a kid. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. The first time I think I saw Walter Berry play in the tournament. I think he was still in high school, and I saw him like block a shot and like pinning on the backboard. I didn't know what that was. It was just like amazing. And all these different players, Pearl Washington, and all these different great players that came, I got to see like live as a young kid. So
Yeah.
I was just inspired by everybody I was seeing. I remember the first time seeing Kenny Anderson. I think he's like a year or two older than me. And he was 13. I was like 11 or something like that. And it was his tournament. I went to see him play, and I couldn't believe it. And then, like, all these different points where you see these great players, Steve Burns, but Kenny Anderson, I couldn't believe how good he was, and to be like so close in age. So I was just inspired to be the best that I can be. I didn't know how tall I was going to be, but I was inspired to just get better and better and better. And that's all I wanted to do was just play basketball every single day and play against anybody I could play against. And it just led me to my path and everything that I did as a basketball.
Well, in the beginning, as you said, you didn't know what position you're going to play. Were you working on a lot of the guard skills then?
Yes, at an early age, because you're playing against, you're in the parks and everything, so you have to
Right.
be able to dribble. And I consider myself like when I really started playing like formal basketball to be a good ball handler, and then the height, then the growth spurt came, and I went to I remember getting to All Hallows High School, and it was giving out the uniforms as a freshman, and I was lucky enough to be playing varsity, and I went straight to number 32, Magic Johnson. And my high school coach snatched it right out of my hands. He said, "Oh no, you're not gonna be like acting like Magic Johnson around me." So, but yeah, I did have a more handle, and as I grew up, more back to the basket. The game has evolved now, which I love so much. But I was like more to the back to the basket kind of guy. But my size was definitely effective a lot. So I wasn't really on the perimeter a lot, growing up.
Yeah, well, that's what they did back then. They stuck us on the block, right, Shawnelle? I can relate, brother. I mean,
Definitely.
we're standing, Sonny gets to handle the ball and shoot the ball, and, he has the ball in
Well,
his
look
hands.
good,
I have to depend on a guy like Sonny to get the ball into the post once in a while, you know? So you had to
Yeah,
be nice to the point guards. Otherwise, you
Gotta be
wouldn't see the
nice.
yeah,
shot,
yeah.
So I get that. So when you played at All Hallows, they are always they have a reputation for being a great basketball powerhouse in the Bronx, right?
Yes, yes, South
Yeah.
Bronx.
So some of the guys like was Mashburn playing when you were there? Not
Yes,
not at
he's
all
saying
in your conference
no.
though, or no?
Right in my conference, right down the road. He was at Cardinal Hayes. I was at Ohio, so we were the same year. So
Wow,
I had to go
that
out
had to
against
be
him every
some. I mean, those games had to be intense, right? Holy cow.
definitely. Well, me and Mashburn were actually AAU teammates with the
Okay.
Gauchos for like a
Oh,
year.
you played
So
at the Gauchos. I was going to ask
yeah,
you
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I was with the Gauchos first, and I left in Riverside. So me and Mashburn actually played 15 and under. We were 14 and 15 under. We played like probably about 2 AAU seasons or so. He was fantastic though. I always loved. I love competing against him. We were like the same size ish. I was a little taller. Like we had the same type of game, and then he went to Kentucky. So I don't know what happened there. I mean, he became this like he separated himself like immensely from everybody. Going
Right.
into Kentucky. But yeah, Ohio's in South Bronx. John Carey, he was a fantastic coach. He instilled a lot of the toughness and everything that I would need later on. Especially going to St. John's, thinking like Louis is like a nice Italian guy, a little guy. He was
Right.
fantastic, but he was fiery. He was fiery. And, I was prepared for all that through my high school coach, just having that grit, that toughness, where you just, he could yell at you and I just like, I just like, I wouldn't say anything. And when I got to college, I thought Luke kind of second was like this nice guy. He used to be on me, and it was just like, okay, just do what he says, keep it moving, stay in the pocket, and that's how it was for basically my whole playing career.
So what was your path to get to St. John's? You mentioned Coach Lou. So
Yes.
who were you who did it come down to? Who were you recruited by, and how did you come across your decision to go to Queens and St. John's?
So the brilliant thing about Coach Carey is that like he allowed or he set up situations where we could be exposed. So he's from he went to high school in Malloy, knew Jack Curran, uh, but he had relationships with like Bobby Crimmins and George Felton and guys like that.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of connections. So he would as I think my sophomore year, late in my sophomore year, like there were coaches coming by to the gym, and it was just like he always had these relationships with these coaches, and that was the best thing. So I was recruited by basically everybody, a lot of the schools. I mean everybody basically. You playing with Riverside, you at AAU, and you go to Nike camp, you go to 5 star. So I was able to like propel myself into the top 50 kids probably in my class every year,
Yeah.
and just being recruited by every. So my last 5 was St. John, Syracuse, Louisville. I actually went to Syracuse with Adrian Autry on my visit. Tennessee, Arizona State. So those are the schools that I was really looking at. But I was recruited by everybody. Those are the schools I was.
So you said you went with Adrian to Syracuse. Now he becomes the head. He's the head guy there now. So talk
Yes.
about your relationship with him.
Well, I'm sorry, Syracuse is my second favorite college basketball team, exactly because Adrian.
That was mine too, actually, at that time,
So,
right,
I
Sonny?
mean, yeah, I always had this positive vision of Syracuse. I had cousins that lived in Syracuse, so just the orange uniforms, you know, Derek Coleman and those guys. I always loved that university. It was New York school. Yeah, so we went to the visit together, and I just felt that I don't know if I didn't want to get lost in the system with Syracuse. I didn't really know Behan that much. Nothing against him at all, but I thought I had to. Me and Adrian were like AAU teammates as well, so me and Adrian go back to like 11 years old. So
So hang on a second. I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry.
now,
But so you're saying you had Adrian Autry and Jamal Mashburn on your AAU team.
no, well, yes, at times. So all
Wow.
my Gato's AAU team was me, Jamal Mashburn, Dre McCullough, another Big East guy. Who else do we have? We were stacked. Then I left to go to Riverside. Then it was me, Adrian Autry, and Brian Reese on the same team. Anthony
Oh,
Cage, uh,
wow.
Kali. We had it was stacked. Like everybody was basically Division I basketball players.
Yeah.
Um,
Not kidding.
yeah, we were really stacked. But yeah, so those are my AAU teammates. I had some of the best teammates, players in the country on my AAU team, basically all the
So
time.
you got to hit up Red. You got to tell him, hey man, stop ducking us. Like
I know he's it's the first year, man. It's stress, and he has to. She's probably trying to like figure it out, and he's never been like the outwardly type of guy anyway. But uh, if I can put in a good word, I will. I want to see Syracuse do so well.
yeah, me
That,
too.
so he's just probably just trying to get it together. He has a great recruiting class this year. I think last year was. I think his first year was like a testament of him being a good coach. This is his first year winning 20 games. Last year was a little enigma. You can't win them all. And I know he has a great recruiting class, so I think he's going to do great this year.
Yeah, I mean, like any time, right? It gets a little bit down. All of a sudden, people come out of the woodwork, right? But the
Yeah,
man, he's played at a high level. He knows the game inside out. He's been a solid
definitely,
Syracuse citizen, you know.
definitely.
So he's the right guy for the job. And
Yeah,
this year, but he's feeling that heat. And I constantly would send him messages and notes and stuff because you hear a lot of that noise, right? When things aren't going good, you hear the noise. When things are going good,
yeah.
you really don't hear the noise, right?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I don't knowing Red. I don't know if he's like I know he hears the heat, but I don't think the heat is stressing him. I think he's just focused on the product that he needs to get and has on the floor, and I think that's what his mindset is at to just have a great year. I think even if he does great this year, which I think he will be, I think he just like he'll be the same way. He'll just take it the same way. He's just putting in the work that is needed with the right roster. And I think Syracuse will do great this
Well, I think that's the key with the roster because I think you're going to see a lot of ups and downs with a lot of teams, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be it's going to be tough. Even the most seasoned of coaches are going to have a difficult time when you got to take 10 guys and put 10 new guys on your team every year. you know,
Yeah,
or 8 guys or 9, whatever it is.
Well, you also got to get guys playing for the front of the jersey, right? Like you
yeah,
Patino
Like
talked about,
Patino
right?
says, yeah,
So many
right.
guys are playing for their brand and their,
yeah,
the agents and all this other stuff, right? That it's very hard. I mean, I was talking to the Binghamton University coach today, and that was the conversation we were talking, and he was describing it because his place is maybe the breeding ground where a guy can parlay it to get to the next level, right?
yeah. Patino said it eloquently, to say the least, in some of
Yeah,
those
you're not
episodes.
kidding. Yeah, you're not kidding. So you get to St. John's, and there's this little Italian guy to greet you on the court. What
Yes.
was playing for Louis like?
Oh, think about it. It was a dream for me, just being a New York guy, New York City guy. I mean, because I got captivated, and this is leads to you, Chuck, in the 1984-85 season. I was captivated, especially as we got to the middle to the late Big East in the tournament.
Yeah,
St. John's beating Georgetown. I knew very little about Villanova at that time. I'm thinking about 13 years old, 14 years old, but I did know Easy Ed Higgins was another a person that I saw in the playground in tournaments when I was like a little kid. I went to see him play, and he dropped like 40 points, and I could, that's what I got to, that's what I found out who Easy Ed was, and I always, from that point on, I always loved him. So I didn't even know he went to Villanova actually, and I didn't even know about his Stevenson days in high school. So I didn't know. I was too young. I guess I wasn't following it. Of course, there wasn't no TV and
right.
internet, so I didn't. I knew who Ed Pinkney was, but I never saw him in high school, and I really never saw him in college. But that year, 84-85, especially 85 when it came to the NCAA tour, I was captivated by St. John's possibly going all the way and winning. And I mean, the mighty Georgetown, right? We had beat them once. We lost them the second game of regular season. And I think we lost them in the Big East tournament, the championship game.
Yeah,
So now here's the Final Four, and I'm thinking like we're gonna get them this time. We're gonna get them this time. And, I knew about Patrick Ewing, and we lost, right? So I was like, I was salty, because I wanted this. Who was this little guy, this little Italian guy, with so much energy. And so he always stuck with me. I didn't know I was going to go to St. John's, but the fabric of St. John's was embedded in me, like with Walter Berry, Bill Winton, and Chris Mullin. And when it was time to make that decision, it's a true story. Coach Ron Rutledge, he called me up. He said, and it was time between St. John's and Tennessee. And he called me up. He said, "Do you want to go to Tennessee?" He said, "Do you want to go to Knoxville and watch tumbleweeds cross the road, or do you want to play in the garden?" And hung up on me. And I was like, oh, I knew it. I mean, I'm 5 miles north, directly 5 miles north. The train,
right.
the number 2 or 3 train runs express. I'm at, my family could come down and they could, we could have a game at 8 o'clock and they could leave at 7:30, catch the train and make it before the tip off. So, and you talk about family and friends. So it was kind of a no brainer at the end, being in my home city in New York City. Um, And it was a lot of pressure because you have people there around you, and people talking. But I didn't feel no pressure for whatever reason. Which playing at St. John's is high pressure, to win. And when you're playing at the Garden, it's high pressure because you want to win. You want to send people home happy. You want to, we want that feeling.
Sure.
And that's the pressure is there. And if you don't know about it, you can run into some trouble. But me being a New York City guy and played in the playgrounds, I was already battle tested. But meeting Louis, playing with Louis for the first time was fantastic. I learned so much about basketball playing with him. He was kind with me. I mean, off the court, he was kind and
Yeah, right.
humble. And I used to go to his office. People don't know this either. I used to sometimes just go to his office and talk. If he had time or I had time before practice, whatever, just talk about like life. We talked about a lot of basketball. He always mentioned the legends. He always talked, about Chris and how he stayed in the gym, and Mark, Walter, and all these guys. He always talked about the greats, even George Johnson and all these guys. And I just used to listen. It was fantastic. I get to go in the office and talk to Coach Luke whenever it was feasible. It wasn't. He never shut me out, or he never said he had to go. It never looked like he was too busy. It always looked like he had time for me. And it was great. It was like, of course, one of the greatest experiences of my life is playing with Coach Fonseca.
So you played for Louis for 2 years, right?
For 2 seasons, yeah.
So okay, so how does that work now? All right. So Louis comes, does he sit down with the team and say, "Hey guys, this is it for me"? At what point did he do that? And what were you guys thinking? I mean, did you know Brian Mahoney was going to take the reins, or is it one of those things where you were getting ready to jump in the portal? How did
No.
that work?
So I wasn't going to transfer at all. I loved my experience at that time. He did bring us in the players that was coming back to talk to us about him retiring. He did, we did find out that Coach Mahoney was going to take over. I was a little bit worried because it looked like everything was up in the air. Like I didn't know how things were going to turn out. Um, but I had close friends on the team, and nobody seemed
Yeah.
to worry. Like David Kane was the point guard,
Yeah.
who had been there before I got there, and this is going to his senior year. Lamont Middleton was there, Mitch Foster was there, and I already had really good relationships with Brian Mahoney and Coach Rutledge anyway. Coach LaBalbo was there too, so we already had great relationships with those guys. So I mean, Coach left. It was, I thought it was a little sad. I wish he could have stayed, but I know he had to do what he had to do. But to tell you the truth, when Mahoney took over, it was kind of seamless. To tell you the truth.
Yeah. So when did he do that? At the beginning of the year? So
No, this
were you guys playing the season for Coach Lou, or would this come late in the year
no.
and he said, "Hey, I'm done"?
So after my sophomore year, maybe a month or so went by, and I think we found out before the summertime.
So you did not know when you were in Tulane and you played Tulane in the
Yes,
first round of the
NCAA.
NCAA that was going to be his last game.
No, no, no way. I would not even thought about. I wasn't even thinking about it.
Wow.
And I know Malik was leaving. That was going to be tough. Malik Sealy, the great Malik Sealy, was leaving. But yeah, I didn't. We didn't know. But he told us like I said in the late spring, and then we got to start talking with Mahoney, and he was talking to us about what he wanted us to do. A couple of us went on different trips, overseas. I think I went on an NIT trip. I think David came in on the beach. We always going on different trips.
Yeah, sure.
But it turned out really good. This my junior year was probably one of the best basketball experiences on the floor that I had. I think my whole career, including high school, because it was like the unexpected. It was like people counted. I think we were ranked. I think they had us ninth or last almost in the Big East. Like nobody had us anywhere. And we ended up finishing second with a chance to finish first in the Big East regular season that year. So it was that year was just fantastic, fantastic feelings of like coming together and doing something special, winning, having a chance, being relevant, and New York City just rallied around us. It was great. It was a great time.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask you for two. I want to get two good stories. So give us your best Louis Carnesecca memory, and then give us one about beloved Malik Sealy.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Coach Lou, I was telling Chuck about this. Like it was a situation where I had went up to Syracuse, went to see family, but I took a ride with some friends, Conrad McCray being included. And bottom line is NCAA found out, and and Syracuse was under investigation or some other things, but that was part of it. Like basically taking it was like you wasn't supposed to do that, right? You wasn't supposed. So we were up in Syracuse. I think they was playing Georgetown, CBS. We were like in the front row, me, Conrad, I think a kid named Crafton Ferguson. And so, long story short, a couple of months went by, and Syracuse going on probation. They was being investigated before they went on probation, and they needed to talk to me about the trip that I went up there. It was evidence. They got the evidence. They see the CBS game, and so the NCAA lawyers are coming in, and I'm just basically, I mean, I'm not trying to go up in there and lie in any regard, but I'm not giving no information. My boy plays on the team, so watch. Conrad McCray, that's another one of my boys. I got two of
Right.
my boys playing on the team. I'm just really not gonna say anything. I don't care. They got evidence on the tape, but they don't know how I got up there. So Luke Carnesecca called me in before the lawyers came, like early that day. Brought me in, sat down. He sat down, I sat down. And he looked at me. He said, "Never rat on your friends." and that was it. And but it was something that I already felt like
That's
one of my
about as Italian as it gets, Shawnelle. Come on. I mean,
yeah
that's
Yeah, but you know what, right? It's would be more common to say, well, listen, you got to do the right thing, blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah. But what he gave you was good, hardcore, like
I
life.
know what it meant. Yeah,
Right.
it meant listen, man. You got buddies up there. You know, don't go out your way to get these guys in trouble.
yeah.
And that's how I took it. And it was nothing big time. I mean, it wasn't like I received, a wad of cash or this or that. It was like, I was up there, and
No,
maybe
wait,
I.
wait. Just so you know, man, statute of limitations is over. So if you
Oh
want,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you want to
No, yeah,
share,
but no, but
nobody's gonna hear this. Don't worry.
no, maybe some gear found its way in my bags or something like that. Maybe some sneakers and another funny. So, but he said that, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. And then I get back to the school, John Kerry. I got these orange sneakers, and he made me take the sneakers off and threw them in the trash.
I believe that.
But that's my Louis story, and I felt like so I felt from that moment on. I said, all right, this guy gets it.
Right.
He knows how I feel. He knows me. He could have went
He
into a
gets
whole
it.
spiel, and the conversation was not long, and you know. But by the way, they still end up going on probation anyway.
He gets it. All right. So share us one with great
The
teammate.
great Malik Sealy. I don't. It's just so many words to describe this guy. He's one of the best guys you can know. He cares about his circle. I was gravitated to him, but he's from Riverside as well. So I never played on his team, but we did go like on my senior year. We went on like a trip together. It was like a 20U team. So it was like 2 college players and the rest were high school players. So we had Malik Sealy, Gordon Winchester, Adrian Autry, Brian Reese, a bunch of guys on that team. Lawrence Pollard. It was so many guys on it. We were staggered, and we eventually won. It was in Italy, and we won the tournament. But so I knew I had prior knowledge with Malik. But coming to St. John's, he was so helpful and integral to my development because he made sure that he kept his eye on me. Started from preseason workouts. He used to be on me about like, listen, man, you might have to come extra days and work out. You can't play like this. If you want to play, you can't be out of shape. And I thought I was in shape. It is. I'm just 6'10", 6'11" kid having my way in high school, and I come to college and I can't breathe. I'm out of shape. So Malik Sealy was always on me, but just a true testament of his character is when I was. So I guess I was a freshman after my freshman year. My daughter was conceived, and my my ex-wife at the time, she was having a baby, and this was getting close to my daughter's birth, and I forgot what happened. I think it was she thought she was going to labor, and I had called a cab to to the hospital, and it was a false alarm. So I got back, I went over to the City House, I told him what happened, and he got mad at me. He got mad at me because I didn't ask him to hold his car to go to the hospital, and he told me, "Don't you ever be in an emergency like that, and don't let me know, so I can try to help you out." And
Wow.
that's when I knew that he was the guy he was. But we had so many great times. I remember us both being in the NBA. He went to NBA first, but I remember when I was with Cleveland, he was playing with the Clippers and came and got me, and we just talked about like how special it was. Like we were teammates and we were both in the NBA. But there's so many stories with Malik. He was just one of the best guys you could know, thoughtful. Um, there's so many words. I plan on podcast. We plan on doing like a Malik City special. Just just talking about Malik and the impact that he made. And I was very lucky to have played with him. And then when he came back, when he went to the NBA, right, and I was still at St. John's, he came. All the old players used to come back all the time. Smollett, Jason Williams, Walter Berry, everybody used to come back. Bill Winnington, David Russell, everybody came back to play. We had it was a great time. But Malik used to come back when he came back from the NBA. He was like giving me these pro pointers about like how to run a court, and if you're the guy who is in front, it's not even about you. If you get the ball, fine, but run your man through and leave the lane open for somebody else. So that stuck with me. So that next year when that junior season started, I would be out that ball. If I didn't get the rebound, I was gone. And I'd be always that David Kane would just always find me. I would always have easy buckets by just running the court. Malik Sealy like pointed out the importance of actually like running the court and taking your angle and, not being selfish and not thinking it's all about you. Run the court for yourself, but then immediately run the court so you could create open lane for somebody else. So that was a big, big thing he taught.
So now you're getting ready. You graduate. You're getting ready. Well, first of all, before I even get to that, I do have one other question about the St. John stuff. What was the difference as a coach to you between Coach Mahoney and Coach Carnesecca? What were some of the similarities and what were some of the differences? Did you guys run the same stuff? Did Brian just take it on himself and change the whole landscape? How was that? How did that get into effect?
Well, they definitely have two different coaching styles. Coach Hornacek, I thought he was fiery. He's fiery. He had more demand of the offense and what we were running, and
Yeah,
and the defense a little bit. And Mahoney came, and I think Mahoney. I don't know if he just felt he didn't have to lose, but I think he trusted in David Kane more. I don't know. I think they went on a trip together, but I don't. I think they went on a trip together the summer before. But I think he entrusted Dave. He had just had a lot of trust in Dave, and I
yeah,
think that was his. And I'm respecting him a lot for that, for like not being like Louis, but being his own self. So I think he trusted in Dave. We had different offenses, definitely. I think he was more open to like running the floor and being open.
yeah.
Coach Hornacek was more controlled, X's and O's.
Did
Um,
he keep Coach Rutledge on the squad?
Yes, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Coach
He
Rutledge
was
played a big part.
he was the go-to guy for all you guys, right? Rutledge was great.
Definitely.
He.
Well, yeah, Rutledge, the thing about him, Rutledge is just no nonsense and he told it like it is. And I love that. I love that I couldn't pull the wool over his eyes in any way.
Yeah,
I had to like work hard and earn my respect for Coach Rutledge, and he wasn't falling for none of the funny business. And that was the great thing. I think that's, what, players need. So so the transition, even though it was different styles and different philosophies a little bit, but it still was very productive and it worked. It definitely worked.
yeah. You guys had a good record that year too. You were like 23-11 or something.
Yeah, it was a very fulfilling basketball season. David Kane was first team All Big East. I was
Yeah.
unanimous. I think I was second team All Big East. And Lamar Middleton was third team All Big East. I was a leading scorer rebounder, but you could clear everybody knew that. But David Kane that year, like my junior year. David Kane was the guy.
Wow. So now you're getting ready to go to the draft. You're leaving St. John's. Did you have an idea you were going to get picked in the second round by Portland, or how did that?
Well,
Did you go down to? Was it at the Garden? Did you go down there for?
no,
Okay.
no, no. Well,
Take us through that.
well, at the end of my senior year, I think it was 5 games left. I tore a ligament in my thumb, so I missed the last 6 games, and I missed the Big East tournament, and I missed the NIT. So I missed about
Oh,
total about 7 games, which just my stop. I mean, everybody was talking about me being a first round, middle of the first round. It was a lot. I wasn't even thinking about it, but I knew that I probably would go first round, and then I got hurt. I know that's a story of a lot of people, but I got hurt and I slipped and I went second round. So I was disappointed to say the least. I was disappointed at that time. I thought that I worked so hard to become a certain type of player to go first round, and it didn't happen. But it was still a blessing when I think about it. It was a blessing to see. I think I was 43rd to Portland Trail Blazers.
yeah.
So it was. It
And
was
they had
just.
a squad back then. They had
I
some
mean, they
players.
had. I mean, you get there and they had like 15 guaranteed contracts. So
Yeah.
maybe I could have. I think like that summer, maybe I could. No, not maybe, but I think I could have been more focused and worked harder, maybe to be better. But it was probably nothing. I mean, they had a bunch of big guys, a bunch of legends, a bunch of big guys who've been in the finals: Duckworth, Buck Williams, Cliff Robinson, Mark Bryant. I mean, it
Yeah,
was.
Big Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, James Edwards. I mean, they had a solid, front court, and so I definitely didn't make that team, which once again disappointment, but things happen in this basketball world.
It's interesting because you also played for Cleveland, you played for the Spurs, the Nuggets, right? So
Yes.
talk about your experience playing with Greg Popovich. You know, with everything going on now, he just now had to retire, step away from the game a little bit, based on some illness that he had. And, you know, so I know you had, what did you play? 1 year there, right?
One season, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and that season they were like the best team until they ran into the Lakers, until you guys ran into
yes,
the Lakers in the conference finals, which
yes,
was Shaq and Kobe, right, at that time.
yeah, yes.
So talk about your relationship with him, man, because he's an interesting figure. You know, if you're a
Yes,
basketball guy, and he's been around the league for forever. I mean, he's been head coach in there for 20 plus years. You know, I don't know how long. It's a long time, but everybody, I've never heard one single bad word about the guy. You know, and I've known a lot of guys that are around him. Coach Jay Wright, you know, was on his staff for a couple of Olympics, and you know,
Well, a lot of guys talk about his relationship with them as a human being, a father, a person,
yeah.
far exceeding the basketball part. Just
yeah.
share anything with Coach Pop that you can.
Oh, I mean, I played one season with Popovich. It was an article came out in the Athletic.
Yeah,
Somebody did it on me, and you would think like, how can this guy have an impact? And Coach Popovich has had one of the greatest impacts on my life. There's been a few coaches, but he's definitely one of those coaches that's had a great impact on my life in a short period of time. I went to San Antonio thinking one thing about Popovich, and it was just totally another thing. I thought he was like the strict disciplinarian, hard ass type of person. Cut Air Force military background, but
Military background, yeah.
he was stern and he was no nonsense, but he just it was like this air of like expecting you to do your best, and he knew how to talk to you. When I first arrived in San Antonio, and for the first workout in August, like the first thing he said to me was like, "You got to get in shape," and I was like, "Oh man," because I thought I had a great summer camp, and I thought I was in shape, but that's what he told me that. So with me, being a basketball guy, I said, "Okay, Papa is telling me I got to get in shape, so you got to work hard." Because think about it, you practicing against Tim Duncan, Dave Robinson every single day, Malik Rose, these guys will eat you alive. So you have to be on top of you have to be on top of your game. You have to be somebody that's working hard and playing well in practice. You can't be the guy who's playing terrible in practice. You'll get cut. Especially playing against Tim Duncan and Dave Robinson. So he was just that guy as far as it's no nonsense, and he treated everybody the same. And that's what I took from it overall. Just he treated everybody with understanding, being the same. If he had to get on you, he didn't care who it was. If it was David, if it was Tim, it was Avery, it didn't matter. Sean Elliott, he would get on everybody, and I sensed that, and I knew that he was treating me the same as everybody else, and we just wanted to work hard for the guy. But the only thing I could think about, and with just coming out of there, the best thing I could think about is just trying to be your absolute best at whatever you do. So no matter what position you play or how many minutes you get, just get in there to contribute and do your best. Don't come in there unfocused. Don't come to practice unfocused. And it was a sense of family. I would say, yeah, it was definitely one of the best working environments I've ever been around. It was basically like clockwork, and he had a group of. It seemed like he had a group of like-minded guys, like all good guys that you know, no bad personality. Just all the guys are good. Competitive. We joked around a lot, but you had a bunch of great guys. Steve Kerr was on that team. Danny Ferry.
yeah,
Uh, I learned so much from everybody. Like, it was a blessing to be around so many great people. And everybody was willing to help and practice. They made sure like everybody was trying to help me. And like Antonio Daniels, I haven't seen Antonio Daniels so long, but he's one of the players that I remember because he was always helpful and honest with you. And everybody, that's how everybody was. That's how the whole organization was. And I just felt it was just a sense of family, and it just always make you want to like help your brother out. I thought we were going to win a championship this year, and I wasn't happy. Like, of course, for me, I was happy, but I wanted it. I was happy for all the guys I was around. When we
right.
when we lost in 4 games, it was like I know we got swept, but it was heartbreaking. So you wanted so much for these guys. These guys were like great guys, professionals, and and that's what it's about. So I just left there just thinking like, all right, whatever I do, I'm gonna try my absolute best. So if it's, I'm still playing, I think I was with Denver next year, just doing
Yeah.
that's the first time I ever started consistently in the NBA that next year. I went overseas, my game evolved where I became like a better player. Now I can shoot, I'm shooting threes, and I'm utilizing my handle a little bit. And after my playing career was over, trying to start a business and doing the best you can. All right, it didn't work out. What you gonna do next? I go into education, and now I'm back in grad school, and now I'm just trying to do my best.
That's great.
And still to today, like whatever opportunities that come before me that I seek, that I feel fit with, just trying my absolute best, and it's the reason why I got 2 master's degrees right now, because just always looking to better yourself, even in this late stage of non-playing, and even coaching with my kids, just being like truthful and honest, and just teaching them the right way. So that's what I
You
got.
attribute all of that to Pop too. I mean,
Well,
that's pretty incredible, really. You think about that.
well,
You
well,
played
well, a
one
lot,
year for the guy, and he had that kind of impact on you. I mean,
yeah. Well, I don't see any, like most people I see that with that organization. I think that's how they come out of it. And you can look at some of
yeah,
these coaches, that and Mike Budenhauser was our coach, Mike Brown was our coach. So
yeah,
you see all these guys with these characteristics that are able to do well. And I see Antonio Daniels. He's doing the NBA. He's doing the NBA a show, broadcast show, NBA on what I forgot what I sometimes I listen to him. It's like the NBA Network on
on
the
TNT.
satellite, no, the satellite
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're
yeah,
talking
with
about.
the NBA channel.
Yeah,
I love listening to him, but you just got a bunch of great guys who care about other things other than themselves, and 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 that's the thing we got from Pop. That's the thing I got from one thing,
right.
because I'm a basketball guy, and I attract to that. When people are like that, I attract to that, and all I will do is listen and ask questions sometimes. And he probably doesn't even remember me, but that's fine. He does have impact on people who play for him.
Yeah. I got to ask you too, because he's one of your teammates, and I don't think he gets the respect from people that don't know the game as being one of the greats, of the game, and that's Tim Duncan. I mean, he's so the big fundamental they call him. He's so fundamentally sound. Like when I was coaching kids back then, you try to teach them to use Tim. I think every time he had a mid-range shot or look, it was off the backboard all the time. He used, but the kids at that generation didn't think it was cool to shoot off the backboard. I said, 2 points is 2 points. Talk about
Yeah.
it was like guarding him every day in practice.
Oh man, I could tell you one story. We was in practice one day, and I was guarding him really well, like not letting him get to the basket, not letting him spin, just like just playing really solid and strong and everything. I could say it was really good defense. He really couldn't do nothing. And then like I don't know how what move they did, or maybe in pivot and faced up real quick, but he did it real quick after all that good defense and glass. And I think one of the coaches was like, "Man, don't worry about it. That was really good defense." It was like, and he was like further out too, so it was like, but it was a blessing, man. Tim Duncan is like he's so humble, man, and he's I don't think he's shy, but he's humble, and he's just reserved, but he's a lion on the court. Like
Yeah,
in practice, he was like, he was a he was he wouldn't show expression, but you could tell he was feisty. He used to, I get the little elbow every once in a while. I get the little push off. He was a lion. You know, and people will get mistaken because he's like quiet and he doesn't like the spotlight and everything. But he was
yeah.
tough, man. It was such a blessing. He was such a like a
He made it look so easy, right,
yeah,
Sean? I
yeah,
mean, God, I
for
mean, it
sure.
was like, you know,
I watched it, man. I watched it and I was like, oh, I knew Tim Duncan was really good when I got there, like almost great. I mean, he already had a
right.
championship on his belt, but that season I really got to see, oh, this is why he's
Yeah,
who he is, and And then
Plus, you had the Admiral too. So you
yeah,
see, you're
both
learning
of them.
behind two of the best big guys ever to play. You know?
Definitely. And I had to guard both of them in practice, off and
Oh my
on.
God, that's
So it was, it was. That's what I'm saying. So you go to a place like that, being a guy who wasn't like a main guy, or anything like that, you really got to be focused every day because, if you maybe go out, hang out, and maybe you're not feeling the best, you're gonna be in trouble. You know.
yeah. That's an
So,
understatement, man, against those
and
two guys.
it was fantastic. It was a great experience in that organization, and I took a lot out of it. I made sure that I would not take that for granted. That experience.
So I got to ask you about two other guys that you played against, and I don't want to rub salt in any wound, Shawnelle, okay? But you lost to the Lakers in the conference finals, and that was the Shaq and Kobe era.
Yep.
What was that like with those two guys? Tell us some stories if you can about Shaq and Kobe when you guys played them.
Well, I think we beat them 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4 games in that regular season. So we meet them in the
Oh,
conference
yeah.
finals. I'm thinking we got a chance, and I think we felt pretty good about beating them. They just won a championship, but I thought because we were like rolling from the middle, like from January, late January, we were rolling to the end of the season. So I thought we pretty had a really good chance, and I witnessed pure basketball dominance from those two guys. I think Kobe said something in the paper before, and I was like, "Who the hell Kobe thinks he is?" And then, I found out. But Shaq was extra motivated at that series. It was, you don't see stuff like that, and I got to witness it. They were very dominant, going into their trying to get their second championship in 2001. Two of the best basketball players I ever seen with my own eyes. You could say what you want about Shaq, and if you want to compare him to Will, not that this, that he was everything is advertised. Just a monster, play like a monster. Shaq is big, and he know he's big, and he takes advantage of that. Kobe was relentless. Those guys that the others, as Shaq would say, those guys, they were excellent basketball players. I think of Rick Fox, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher.
Yeah,
Those
they had a
guys,
squad.
those guys played in sync. They know how to play. They had to coach for it, and it was basically like just watching basketball brilliance.
Yeah.
We were on the wrong side of it, and it didn't feel good. And when I think back on it, it still doesn't feel good. But I was blessed to witness that. To know about to really know what the highest level of basketball could look like in person. You know,
Yeah.
and I think it was one game I played. I think we may have been losing. Shaq was still in, and I don't know. Was this one of the playoff games? But we were already losing. Shaq was still in. He was at like the top of the key, and he spent to go to the rim, right? So they threw the ball up, and I'm looking. I said, "Damn, he ain't go catch that ball." And before I could say ball, Shaq was like hovering over the rim as the ball got in his hand to the tomahawk
Yeah.
down. And it was like, oh God, this is what greatness is.
Oh, was that alley-oop play from Shaq, from Kobe to Shaq? Is that the one?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I
There
don't
was
know if it was.
one play that you see every time you see
No, it wasn't
highlight.
that play. That was
Okay.
against Portland
Okay.
the prior year before.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, they didn't televise that. Thank God.
I mean,
I,
yeah, thank God, it's right. That's so it didn't. It's only hearsay that it happened. It didn't. You can't go
yeah.
Google it or anything.
No,
No.
it wasn't on me, but it was. I was definitely in the vicinity, and it was like usually a play like that, you want to try to jam that play up, but that ball was so high, and then Shaq got up so high, and you see this big shadow coming out. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's something that you're not even thinking about trying to block.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
mean,
great
the
basketball
physical
experience.
attributes are one thing, but then he could run, he could jump, he could,
Yeah, big and
at
nimble.
that big a guy. Holy cow!
Yeah.
So
So
unbelievable. Listen, you had some incredible experiences in your career, both in
definitely.
college and in high school, college, and in the pros. It's been
Yeah, and
you are blessed. I'm glad you
and
realize that because not everybody gets to have those experiences, man.
um and one of another great experiences I had was playing 2 years with Cleveland Cavaliers as Mike Fratello as the head coach, and
Oh,
that was
Mike's my guy. Yeah, he's a
yeah, that
Nova
was
guy.
I love Mike Fratello. I love Mike Fratello. Once again, no nonsense. He'll come right at you. He doesn't have no time for baby talk.
Nope.
And it was just like I love that guy. One, he gave me my first opportunity playing the NBA. But two, he once again just like I could talk to him. I could talk about basketball. I could sit on the plane. He could watch some tape, and he could tell me what is what. And I love that guy, man. I haven't seen him in a while, but
Yeah.
you get older, like everybody goes their way.
I can get you in touch with him easy, Shawnelle. I'll talk to you
Well,
after the show. I mean, he was one of Coach Mass's guys. He started as an
yeah,
assistant for Coach Mass.
that he used to talk about Rolly, yeah.
Yep.
So
So, I mean, he's been around a lot, especially towards the end of Coach's life. He was with them famously at the 2016 championship when Chris made the shot.
yeah. So
Mike
make
was
a
sitting
point.
right there.
I remember saying that, and think about it. So I had John Carey, Coach Carnesecca, Mike Fratello, Greg Popovich. I mean, like those four guys there alone,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like and these guys
Yeah.
shape my thinking, shape my perception about basketball, shape my perception about like life and how you treat people, how I was lucky, man. I was very lucky.
Yeah, you were, because you know what? There's a lot of guys that don't have that experience go a different way than you did. It's a positive outcome. You're doing great, and and that's a great segue to our next stuff. Is what are you doing now? Go ahead, Sonny.
Wait, can I mention a little something here? I can't let this slide by.
Go ahead.
Lou Carnesecca, Mike Fratello. What's the common denominator here?
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, you know what it is. It's called Mulberry Street. But no, those guys are and both two Italian guys to the fullest. And we used to talk about food.
To the core.
Yeah, and Lou Carnesecca. So my love for Italian food comes from definitely Lou Carnesecca, because when I got to St. George, I wasn't eating Italian food. I'm coming from a single mother, black. I was eating all these things all these different plates, these different pastas. And then I get to St. John's, and we're eating at Dante's restaurant, which I can't believe I didn't like at first, and then I started to love it. Like I should go there and pick food up, but no, yeah, those guys are great. Those guys are great.
You know how many guys from St. John's have been on and said that exact same thing, that they didn't even know anything about Italian food, but now that's their favorite food. It's
I mean,
because of Dante's and Coach Lou.
Yeah, the food is fantastic, And after I graduated and played a little pro ball, I ended up still going back there, picking up food for for pickup, and every once in a while go sit down and eat.
Yeah.
Once you get a taste for a certain sauce, a certain flavor that they make,
they have this.
Everybody's a little different, and once you get in that sauce, that's it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and the other spot down there, we talked about it yesterday, is the Greek Family Restaurant.
The Greek Family Kitchen.
A shout out to the Greek Family Restaurant.
Oh yeah, they treated us well. Yeah.
I hope they see this, because they know me when I go in there. It's a great place. The food is fantastic.
Yeah.
And not too far from where I live, and it's a great place. The Greek Family Kitchen.
Yeah, Greek Family Kitchen. That's it. I mean, they were great. We actually went to lunch with Coach Lou, Sonny and I, and had a blast. It was just the three of us in there.
We broke them out for the day.
Yes.
Yeah, we broke them out of jail for the day. we went there, and it was just the three of us, and they had a special area for us.
Definitely.
And
that's
we did nothing but laugh.
And you got a Villanova guy and a Syracuse guy, but like, how can you not love that guy, right?
And that's exactly what he said too. Yeah. I mean, he said, "Who would have thought I'd be sitting here with a Wildcat and an Orangeman, and we're laughing and joking around and kidding around." So it was great. It was great. So
one of a kind.
Yeah. So tell us what you're doing now. You're an educator now, right? And a basketball coach. So you're at is it Millennium Brooklyn High School?
Yes.
What are you teaching?
So I'm a special education service provider. So right now I'm in the 10th grade math department, and I also coach varsity for the building is John Jay High School campus that we're in. So I'm the head varsity coach, boys varsity coach, basketball coach.
So let me ask you now, with the culture the way it is for basketball,
Right.
how does that affect high school kids that can play? You really, really have to be good to get any
Yeah.
kind of shot now, right?
Yes. When the time as I was coming up and years, little couple of years after, right, you had so many great players coming out of New York City, public school, Catholic school, and these kids would get scholarships.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it seems like that's few and far between. The culture of basketball, and not in any way, I love New York City. I think the culture of basketball uh, has to get better if we're gonna bring it back to that time. I don't know what it is. Um, I don't know if the elite kids in New York City are few and far between. Um, and a lot of our kids are not getting the opportunities that we used to get. Um,
Right.
so I mean, I'm very happy like the Knicks and the St. John's right now are relevant, very relevant. Maybe that could be something because that inspiration is the key. That inspiration like oh you see it, it's in your backyard, it's in your backyard, and you want to be there, you want to get better. But I don't know, something happened in the last couple of decades. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that one day it could definitely come back to like prominence, like the high school basketball scene. It's not like dead in any way. We have a couple of really good basketball players, but they're just few and far between. And college coaches, because I know a lot of them, I know you do too, Chuck.
Yeah.
Uh, they're not enthused by New York City basketball players anymore. And the
No.
kids that are in New York City that are really good and elite, they usually like leave. For whatever reason. We wasn't trying to leave. We were trying to make it right in the city. They say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right?
That's right.
But,
You can make it there. You can make it anywhere. That's
so,
right.
but the kids in New York for some reason they leave, like the high elites,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that one day it could just like genuinely just come back to where you have New York City basketball could be like the spot again. Right now, it's not the spot. It's not the hot spot no more. You could go down into Maryland, wherever the DMZ area, or
Yeah.
California, but hopefully we could get it back one day.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the new podcast, the Storm NYC. I like the name, first of all. I think that's a pretty
Storm.
good name. Yeah.
So yeah, the Storm NYC. So uh, I saw a negative comment and somebody said it was one negative comment I saw. It's like you trying to rip off the successful Rick Pitino or something like that. Somebody said. Well, I want the successful Rick Pitino. I don't care about that,
Yeah.
But it was just inspired by we were approached, me and Tyrone Grant separately to do it. A close friend of mine, he's an actor. His name is Ruben Rivera. He's been in a couple of movies and everything, and he's been on set on a couple of projects. He's worked on a couple of projects. So he had this idea. So I don't know. It was just like the inspiration what these kids at St. John's were doing for the city. Like, especially me and Tyrone, we've been at the last, like, obviously I couldn't make all the games this year, but like the last 10 games, I was going to all the games. And we were just playing, for me, just watching these kids like playing hard defense and playing together. I was just inspired. I didn't know if I was going to do a podcast. And then I was approached by my guy Ruben to say, listen, I got an idea. Maybe you could do a podcast. Maybe you and Tyrone, because he knows Tyrone too, and he'll just talk about the games in NCAA, and maybe we could get guests. So I thought about it. I said, all right, well maybe I didn't want to ask Tyrone because Tyrone is that guy. He's not gonna want to do it. So I said, we gotta speak to Ty. He said, no, don't worry about it. I spoke to Tyrone again. He said he with it. I said, Tyrone is with it. Okay, I'm with it. So we got in touch with another friend, Eric Newman, who's also, I think he's a creator of All the Smoke, and he does the Kevin Garnett show for Showtime right now. And he was with it too, So we all had a meeting. He was like, so when you want to start? So the day that they said, we started it. And I felt like so happy talking about basketball, talking about my school, especially at the situation, we just won the Big East tournament. We just won a regular season tournament. We had a great year.
Yeah.
So I was inspired to like, you know what? I want to do this. And I always wanted to do something with St. John's or for St. John's. I just never knew what it was, coming to the games in the past, 2-3 decades, right? So I always wanted to like align myself with St. John's in some way, but nothing, nothing ever occurred. So this was a situation where started this thing, and we was looking for a name, and somebody Redstone Rising is a documentary. They got another TV show. So I don't know if it was me or Ruben. We say, yeah, what about just the Storm NYC? Just put it all together. Just put it just like we can make that. Everybody liked it, so we feel like New York is a big market. We have two New York City guys, bred in New York City, played high school in New York City, went to college in New York City.
Yeah.
We have so many relationships, so many legends and so many connections with all these, so many people, and we just felt, look, we could always get guests, we're one person removed from anybody we want to get, even like Chris or Mark, but those guys are special guys, so I don't want to bug those guys. So I was like, let's just put in the work. Let's get, as many people we can get, like St. John's people, St. John's legends, and some New York City legends. Let's talk about basketball, the culture. Let's let them tell these stories and give them the flowers. And it seemed like all it's been doing is picking up steam. So I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because
that's cool. And you had some of the current kids too, didn't you say? I think you had Zuby on, right?
Yeah. So we just did the interview for in person, now we just doing all studio. Now we did 5 episodes, 6 episodes digitally like this through Zoom, and we did our first in studio episode. So Sweet Chick, the restaurant, partnered with us. They sponsored us, giving us a space. Very thankful for that. Like right off the top, so we don't have to go look for anywhere else.
So how does that dynamic work, Shawnelle? Because we've been doing this, 4 years, right, son?
Yeah.
You guys are
4 years, and the only ones that we've done in person were in Coach Carnesecca's kitchen and in Macy's Herald Square recently during the Big East tournament,
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, you not only do you have to get a guest to come on the show, which is tough sometimes, juggling schedules and that, but then you got to get them to come to where you're going to be.
Yeah. So I feel like I was kind of worried because I was telling Ruby, like, maybe we should just like keep both. Let's keep doing digitally. Maybe we can get somebody who can be available, and then we could do some people they be available. We could do them at on location. So he was like, no, man, like we did the digital, that's fine, but we just want to be a little different. And the main reason why I think it works is just the connections we have with former players. So Zuby is I had a relationship, like I didn't know Zuby, but all this whole season, like starting in August, I was at practices and I went to the Bahamas and we lost to Baylor. So I was like, I wanted to talk to him so bad, like let him know, like, don't worry about it. You play so hard, New York loves you. So not that night because I was crushed when we lost to Baylor.
Right.
But the next day after practice, I approached him. I said, Zoo, I know you don't know me. I'm a former player. I don't want you to think about those free throws, yo. New York is gonna love you. You play so hard. You inspire people with your hard play. I'm telling you right now, New York is gonna love you. People are gonna forget about those free throws. Don't worry about it. And we dapped up, and it seemed like since then he's been on a terror. I think his mind was like, the negative happens, and I think his mind was just clear just to play great. And he's such a great kid. So him seeing me this whole year around, and when we was doing the show, Ruben was like, our executive producer was like, we should get Zuby. And so I said, okay. I reached out to him. I had his number, and I reached out to him, and he was just gracious enough, like, no, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. Told him where it was at. He was there right on time, and that's it. I think it's just a relationship. We have run our test this Saturday. We're taking run our test this Saturday. And I'm hearing things, but he has a great relationship with Tyrone Grant. He knows me. We got a long relationship, but it's about the relationship. So we feel that we can get the plays that we want because we got close relationship. I mean, you can't always depend on it, but
I mean, you get guys are guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some guys are going to do what they say. Some guys are going to say stuff and then not do it.
We got like 15 confirmations like right now.
That's great.
Like St. John's players, like calling them, me and Ty calling them, like and speaking to them, and guys giving us their word. Of course we got to sync up the time and location. I mean, not the location.
Right.
Sync up the availability, right time, of course. But we got like close relationships with these players, and there's so many more
that's great.
That's in my,
Where
so
can somebody find the show?
all right. So the Storm NYC, you can find it on YouTube.
Yep.
If you watch us on YouTube, we're hoping it's like really good content. Please subscribe. You'll find us on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. We're new. We're fresh. Of course, St. John's based. We're starting off now, but it's a New York City based thing. It's a basketball thing. It's a cultural thing, and we have so much more ahead and ideas, and you guys too. Like I find out about you guys. This is fantastic. To have this. The Big East. You bring it back former players. I think Chuck said he had like 156 guests. That lets me know. That keeps me humble because lets me know we have a long way to go if we're gonna keep doing it. But
Yeah, like I said to you, the best thing about it is we're building relationships with guys that we played against, and like
yeah,
you got a totally different view of the same guy that you were throwing elbows with, but
definitely,
popping sweat with in the paint.
it's important.
It's great.
It's
Really.
important. It's so important, man. I think to get out these sports stories, to get out the sports content, to have players like I don't think I'm anybody special, but 30 years ago, I was somebody, they liked me when I was playing, and now, what are they doing now? And here I am, like 30 years
Yeah.
after I graduate on the show, the Big East Rewind, and that's amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing to me that something like that could happen. Like people remember you or know you and for what you did, and you did something. You made some type of impact where you still sought after, or people still have interest in. So that's the beautiful part about sport.
Yeah, it really is. Especially there's a brotherhood too in the Big East.
Definitely. I mean, the Big East.
Right from day one, we felt that, right, son?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
right from day one.
And I feel that with you guys. Like I'm a Big East guy.
Yeah.
Nobody. You can say whatever you want, but you're not gonna. If anybody try to argue with me, and I tell them about my era, and that the conversation stopped right there. I mean, Chuck, I mean, you're a national champion, but I played against guys like Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo on the same team. Billy Owens and the Connecticut teams, and the Providence teams, and the Pittsburghs and the Syracuse, of course. Like those are great times.
Yeah.
And I had friends on all those teams for the most part. Right? You knew these guys, so the competitions though, you knew these guys. So when you play against them, nobody wants to lose to that guy. Nobody wants to lose. So when me and we play Syracuse, I come on set a pick on Red. I was going to make sure that I got him.
Yeah. And he would want you to make sure you got him.
And I mean, I can't even forget Seton Hall. I can't believe I'm forgetting Seton Hall and Villanova, of course. Like it's a lot of schools with and everybody had an attitude towards each other. I thought those guys were arrogant from all those schools when I was playing. Like we have the Big East luncheon and we looking at guys, and I thought all those guys were like, so it was a great time though. It was a great time. The Big East.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man, for sure. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with us, to come and with us, man. On short notice, it was one of those things. We found each other on Facebook, and here you are 2 days later.
Yeah, here it is. I'm doing a podcast, and all of a sudden, I'm on the Big East Rewind. The 157th guest?
57 or 8. I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been a lot,
Listen, I'm honored. I'm honored, man. Thank you.
Well, we're honored that you came and enjoyed us.
Yeah, we're glad you came.
So hang out for a minute. Let us wrap this up, and we'll talk to you off the air for a minute.
Definitely.
So you've been listening to and watching the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Sparrow. The Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. Check us out on the SiriusXM app, on YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast. And make sure you go check out the Storm NYC on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks a lot for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Shawnelle.